So, just a quick heads up before we start. You may recognise this from my first video. This outfit, I'm recording this at the same time. Welcome to Let's Talk About Avengers: Infinity War. The audio that I'm going to play is literally just a podcast. So if you don't want to watch the video, listen to the podcast. The link to that will also be in the description, as well as the Mixcloud link, just in general. So yeah, this is just the podcast as my thoughts. With some footage over the top just to make it a little bit more interesting. But this is the beginning of Let's Talk About, and we're talking about Infinity War. So, welcome. Today we're talking about Infinity War, Avengers: Infinity War to be more exact. So, I talked about this on episode 3 of series 3 of Screen Talk on Brayford Radio, which is a show I have on Fridays. If you don't know why you're listening to this podcast, because this is going up on the Mixcloud page, you should be able to see all of this. But if for context you don't know for some reason, the show goes out 11 to 12 on Brayford Radio, which is an online station, so you can listen online every Friday. So, you're listening to this podcast to talk about Infinity War and talk about spoilers for Avengers: Infinity War. Because I saw the movie on Wednesday. If you listened to Series 3, Episode 3, you'll know that I went on Wednesday at midnight, and I saw the movie for the first time, and it blew my socks off and my mind at the same time. And I just wanted to talk about it. Instead of going with my initial gut reaction, which was to release this amongst the hype of the people who hadn't seen this movie, I wanted to mull over my thoughts for a few days, because I could have easily just recorded my initial reactions at 4 a.m. and posted it and gone, cool, that's some content. But instead I wanted to talk about it when I've had more time to think about it, and I have done, and I've come away and I've thought about it, and it's not affected me in the same way that it did, yesterday, because I'm recording this on the Friday, so I'm still pretty fresh. But yesterday I couldn't think about anything else other than Infinity War. I couldn't think of a movie even that had affected me in that way other than maybe Gone Girl, and it's not to the same extent because I wasn't invested in those characters for 10 years before I'd seen it. It was within the 2 hours of Gone Girl, rather than 10 years of my life, which for me at 19 is over half of it. I'm coming up to being 20, but it's pretty much half of my life, which is scary to think about, that I've been waiting to see this movie, and it lived up to the hype. I briefly said when I talked about it in the show this week that I didn't want to talk about spoilers because I'd be doing so here, and I will, but I wanted it to live up to the hype, and I was afraid that it wouldn't, and it did. So that's the initial first reaction. If you're not wanting to know, too much, but you want to see if you should watch this movie, my initial thing would be, yes, of course you should watch this movie. If you understand going in that you'll need to know things, and they're not going to treat you like you've not seen it. There's no hand holding. You've got to know what everything is going into it, because they don't really explain it that much. You've got to be a Marvel fan, but I don't know anyone who isn't at this point, really. Not personally. So anyway, about the movie. Loki's death, that's the first big spoiler. It's the first thing that happens in the movie, pretty much. Heimdall gets killed, Loki gets killed, and Thor and Hulk get beaten the crap out of. And it's brutal, but it's also, it sets the tone for the whole movie, and you go through the whole movie with a pit in your stomach, just of worry that, this is not anything we've seen before in this universe, and not really anything we'd seen in a superhero movie before, in the fact that, they just killed this dude that we've been with for a long time, and he's cheated death a lot, and it'll be interesting to see if he stays dead. But I think pretty much, I'm going to treat it that you've seen this movie from now, but from the snap when Thanos clicks his fingers and kills half of the people in the entire universe, which first of all didn't think they would do. It's mad. It's madness that they've done so much killing. I didn't think they would, because there's a thing where people are going, oh, Marvel's too lighthearted, or Marvel doesn't kill characters, or Marvel doesn't have good villains. They do. They've done it. They've done the best superhero villain, comic book villain ever put to screen, like they made it. Maybe he's not people's favorite comic book, comic book fans. Maybe then he's not their favorite villain, but by far in any movie, even Dark Knight, because the two are totally different. But like, Jesus Christ, Thanos was awesome, and still mulling it over, I'm comfortable saying, it would be easy to come out of that movie and go, wow, the good guy wins. He gets his happy ending, and that's how the whole movie ends. And I was saying while the credits were rolling, because I was going, there's not going to be an end credit scene. They're just going to come up with Thanos will return, and they did. But then they did play I think what will be a scene from Captain Marvel. I think that's how Captain Marvel will start. Is the events of this movie, that she comes in and then flashback and we see where she's been, or either that's how Captain Marvel ends, with her coming in back to Earth to set up Infinity War Part 2, or Infinity Gauntlet, or whatever they're calling it. So yeah, I don't know what to say about this movie other than it's insanely good. It's 2.5 hours, paced extremely well, with the characters that you've loved for ages all culminating very easily in this huge story, even though half of them die by the end, or, we assume that they're dead. What I want to say is that I think they've been teleported into the Soul Stone, and that's where Thanos goes in his vision at the end when he talks to young child Gamora. I think he's gone inside the Soul Stone, and that's where she's living, and I think that's where the other Avengers will have been teleported to, because I don't think they're dead. Because thinking about it, all the people that air quotes die at the end of the movie are the future of the MCU. So whether people have speculated that they'll trade their lives, like the old Avengers will trade their lives for the new ones, we'll see. I think that would be a bit, I don't know, that would feel lackluster to me, because I think whatever ends up happening, people won't predict it, because they did what they did in the comics this time, and no one predicted that they would do that. So I think now people are trying to think, well, what's the easiest way that they can fix this? And I don't think they will. If anything, I'll be excited to see Adam Warlock come in, see if that's a possibility, because he was at the end credits scene of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And if he's in it, that would be interesting, because he's one of the people that, canonically could wield the gauntlet without any sort of training. I know, like Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, they've all done it in the books, but I don't think within this movie universe they will be, have that kind of strength to be able to do that. Especially since Peter Star-Lord is only half human, half celestial, and he could only hold it for a small amount of time. A stone, that is. I don't think, 15-year-old Peter Parker could wield the entire Infinity Gauntlet. But we'll see. Other than that, Thanos was amazing. The deaths, all, they get you. That's, you won't think that this movie will affect you as much as it does when you come out of it. But everyone I've spoken to who's seen the movie have just been like, it was incredible, and I'm so affected by it. Like, people were just in awe, and you were very aware, especially at the midnight screening when there were so many people there, of it being like the whole cinema was just showing it in different screens at the same time. So all of the screens came out at the same time. So there was over 200 people just being like, what did we watch? Nobody can say anything. Like, we're all just completely out of it. Like, we've got to wait a year for another one. And that'll be the thing that I think is interesting to see, is whether anyone guesses the plot by next year. But I'm very excited for the next one. And yeah, 10 years they did it. Like, it's a stepping stone to the next movie, but it's the best superhero movie ever. And Marvel did it, and that's the amazing thing. I thought I would be able to speak about this movie a lot more than I have, because I said a lot when I first came out of it after I'd had a couple seconds, and like I said, I could have easily recorded a whole episode just about, whatever. But to be concise, and I'm doing this with no notes, I don't know whether that comes across, but I just wanted to talk about my raw feelings off the top of my head, having had time to mull it over. It's an insane piece of work in terms of how well it all works, especially the last hour of the movie where, you've got 3 different stories: Thor, Rocket and Groot, and the people on Wakanda, and the other Avengers on Titan. All of those paced exceptionally well. The visual effects, amazing. The sound design, incredible. The music works really well. The best parts of the movie, some of the best parts were when like Cap came in and his theme kicks in, and you're like, wow, this is the brothers doing what they do best, because they've proved that they can do Cap stuff in Winter Soldier and Civil War. So when he returns, you feel like triumphant, even though you knew it was going to happen. Like it's in the trailers, like Cap turns up and they play his theme, and it's epic. And the whole movie is on that scale. It's epic, it's funny, it's sad, it's heartbreaking, and it's a wonderful piece of cinema. And it's not in the same way that Black Panther was a cultural event and a movement. This is something different for the world of cinema, and blockbuster cinema is not going to be the same because people will copy it, people will try and do the same thing. Marvel's going to have another chance to do this kind of thing again, and they probably will, because we're in safe hands at this point. It's going to be insane, and I'm going to be there midnight waiting to see this movie as soon as I can, so I can talk about it. And I can't wait. And you need to go see Infinity War, and I probably need to go see it again. But spoilers, lots of people die. Thanos does the snap, and it affects you. But if you've seen it and you're here, you probably have seen it. You know that, and you just want to say the same things that I'm saying in a very roundabout way. I thought I'd be able to be more concise based on the amount of time I've had to think about this stuff. But it eludes me now, like the heartbreak of like all the deaths, like Gamora. There's so much stuff that happened. Like Red Skull was in it again, and like the writing for Josh Brolin to work with to do Thanos. It wasn't the Russo brothers who did the script. It was like Christopher something or other. I forgot his name. I'll put his name on screen if this is the YouTube version. Did the script, and it was incredible. And kudos to Marvel for doing it. And kudos for Disney for doing it, because they just killed off a lot of toy sales. Obviously I'll still sell toys, but, you'd think they'd be wary of doing that again. Like, I understand they did it with Rogue One, because those are a one-time thing. Those characters are not coming back. But you got to sell the entire future of the MCU, and you've just killed off all of it. Killed off the Guardians, you killed off, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and I think Scarlet Witch. The thing that affects you the most is the fact that it's so unceremonious. Like, they're all gone. And yeah, what a film. Go see Avengers Infinity War. I've been Harry Page, this has been Screen Talk, and I'll catch you in the next episode.